Hey guys, it's Jensen here once again, and with the beginning of the 2021 playing stages of the World Championship, it's time for another round of World's Daily Videos, and today we will be taking a look at the Tryndamere mid strategy that Hanwha Life Esports employed, with Chovy playing the champion in their opening match against LNG. Despite the loss, could this be the new OP strategy that we see throughout Worlds? To break down the composition further, the Tryndamere mid pick was picked with a Sejuani in the jungle position and Arvida in the top lane, with Ezra and Karma to run off the composition in the bottom lane. There's three options that most team compositions can opt for, and with this line of champions, they have access to the scaling teamfight and 1-3-1 all pick composition. Of these options, Hanwha Esports chose to play this lineup of 5 champions as a scaling teamfighting composition and opted to play it as an all-in teamfight in the later stages of the game. To map out the events of the game, the early game had them start with reverse clear with the Sejuani, looking to pair up in mismatched timings to attack the opponent top laner for ganks and dive opportunities with top laner Morgan on the Irelia. This then opened up an opportunity for them to use the Rift Harrow to create a deep lane through which they were able to execute the mid-game plan. This mid-game plan consisted of them playing a 1-3-1 in which they created a deep lane of farm by breaking open the top lane tier 1 turret, through which Tryndamere was able to access that long lane of farm, getting access not only to his Gromp and Wolves on his side of the jungle, but the opponent's Krugs as well. This enabled him to farm a whopping 227 CS at 20 minutes. With this amount of gold in his pocket, he was able to hit his 2-item power spike of Essence Reaver and Gore Drinker by the time the third Drake spawned at 20 minutes and 30 seconds. This saw Hanwha Esports transition into the third phase of the game, where they then grouped with a 0-4-1 Drake setup, and from this point, as Tryndamere was spiked, they then aggressively looked to take fights on the map, alternating between answering waves in a 1-3-1 fashion and going through 4 in the mid lane. To break this down into 3 simple steps that you can execute in your Clash games, or if you're an aspiring competitive player, the first step is to mismatch the jungle potting, to place your top, to create a deep side lane, and it's important to have this in the top side of the map, as the Tryndamere would then be able to soak farm and create pressure across from the dragon, forcing the opponent to pool resources there and giving you first access onto the dragon later on in the game. The second step is to then enable the Tryndamere to absorb as much farm as possible using the long lane before grouping and teamfighting at a 2-item power spike. It's a simple enough strategy, and it's rather effective, from the way that Hanwha Life Esports was pressuring LNG throughout the game. From this game, we can learn a little bit more about this up-and-coming mid-pick of Tryndamere in the mid lane. To break down the strengths and weaknesses, the strengths of this champion is very clear, and it's best played as a self-reliant side lane pressure point. Due to his ability to have a short cooldown on the spin, and his invulnerability of his ultimate, it is very difficult to stop him from consistently keeping his side lane pushed in. And as seen in this game, in the team fights the HLE were winning, Tryndamere, as a carry, is extremely sticky, being able to slow opponents with a mocking shout and stick on them once again with a low cooldown on his gap closing ability. On top of that, Tryndamere scales well as a champion, winning duels against most other champions in the side lanes as well. However, this game also showed some of his weaknesses, as Tryndamere is not the best at fighting front to back, as in situations where his jungler Willet pulled the engage trigger a little bit too early, this champion was not the most effective at chewing through a front line that the opponent can put up. And Tryndamere also provides zero defensive wave clear, as after the big mistake that Hanwha Life made in this game, LNG were able to pressure on them, and Tryndamere did little to contribute to the defense of LNG's push. In addition to that, there are a few supports that can be annoying for Tryndamere as a melee auto-attacking DPS. Alistar, Rakan, and Shen are all effective answers that can make Tryndamere's life difficult in the later stages of the game. LNG did employ Rakan as the support of choice and was able to rather effectively peel against this champion. And then, in addition to that, it's also important to think about the jungle pairings that are currently in the meta. So far, of the 16 games played so far, there's only been of the 16 jungle picks so far, there's only been one AP champion, Lilia, one tank, which was in this game with the Sejuani, and 14 AD junglers picked. You usually want to avoid a scenario where all three of your top jungle and mid are all AD champions, and unless there's a strong AP option, they pair together with the Tryndamere. The jungle pairings could be currently weak for the Tryndamere. What's the verdict on Hong for Life strategy in terms of the execution of this? I give it an overall grade of A, despite the loss, as this is still a solid, simple, and effective strategy with a higher burden of execution on the counterplay. This game was lost not due to the difficulty of the execution of the team composition, but through LNG finding good ways to out-teamfight Hunt for Life esports. And that wraps up today's video covering Tryndamere Mid. Once again, there will be daily uploads of content for the 2021 World Championship, all throughout the play-ins and throughout the main stage itself. This is Jensen, and if you enjoy my content, please do leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to my channel. It would definitely help the YouTube algorithm as well if you leave a comment on which other teams you think you will see this Tryndamere mid appear on. My personal take is when FPX plays this strategy, we will see the strategy bump up from an A tier to an S tier strategy. Have a nice day.